All right, hello and welcome back. Brett here with Clickmill.co. In this video, we're going to get into a little bit more of advanced evangelism training, okay? Now, in former trainings, we have talked about, or in I guess all of the other non-advanced trainings, we've talked about listening and sharing, and we're listening non-judgmentally and actively. We've talked about a lot of these things. And when we share, we're being careful not to use toxic communication. That is, that is advanced. I mean, I guess that's advanced for where kind of most people are, but that is like a really good, healthy gospel presentation. But there's still something that's lacking. That is sort of our ability to contend with different ideas. Okay. So when we talk about sharing the gospel message, there is the ability to communicate the gospel itself, which is super important. That's our video, What is the Gospel? You can go into our training series on evangelism training and check that out. And that's super important. If we can't just tell someone the gospel, it's just we can't do anything. Now, so we've got that. Then we want to be able to do healthy communication when we deliver it to increase the likelihood that people are going to hear us. Because again, as you know, if you watch these other videos, it's like people feel criticized, even just feel blamed, feel shamed, feel judged, they're going to shut down. They're never going to listen to you. And all it takes is just one statement and someone can shut down. So we want to be very sensitive to that. And once we get the communication and the gospel message, we can really sit with people and hear them and listen to their emotions and bring them to a place where they're open and they're in a place where they're even asking us for our opinion and, to share. So that's kind of what we've talked about up to this point. To that end, getting into a bit more of advanced is, sometimes people don't just have emotional blocks. Now, I think at the root, emotional blocks are really what keep people out of the gospel. However, the other thing that keeps people from the gospel message are intellectual blocks. Now, in my experience, people will first have an intellectual block, and then under it, you'll find there is an emotional pain. So you have to actually kind of dig down through a couple layers to get into this, okay? If we really want to have a greater ability to talk to a wider range of people, we can't just understand Christianity. If, for example, and in one video, I told you that I had a Satanist, come up and talk to me. I've, and atheists and Wiccans and New Age and spiritualists and shamans, and you can talk to all kinds of people. And each one of those belief sets has its own set of strengths and weaknesses. And that is the case with every worldview and every religion. They all have strengths and they all have weaknesses. And the question is, which one is true? Or which one is the most true? And of course, we believe that's Christianity. So when we're just kind of mentally in our own Christian frame of reference and we're just in our Christian bubble, we don't really know how to share in a logical or analytical way to answer people's questions, right? Difficult questions that they're asking. And so that is where I want to talk to today, which is about apologetics, sharing the gospel, evangelizing, and apologetics. Okay, apologetics just means, right, defense, right? Apologia is a defense, like a court case. And this does not mean we're debating. Tell people all the time, oh, I love apologetics. And they're like, oh, well, I wouldn't want to debate with people. And it's like, no, this isn't a debate. It's not the point. If you're debating with people, you're doing it wrong because it's adversarial. We've talked about that in other videos. We're on their team, right? They have good intentions. I have good intentions. I want them to have the same peace that I have, and I want to help them, right? I'm on their team. So we're not debating, but it is a defense. And the Bible says, always be prepared to give a defense for the hope that lies within you. If you're talking to someone and you have a genuine conversation where you've built some rapport and religion is on the table, they're gonna open up some questions and say, well, why do you believe this? Or isn't it true that this? And it's not bad if we don't have the answers, but we can also be more effective. And that's what we're shooting for. We're trying to reach more people more effectively. That's what we do here at Clickmill. So with that, how do you do that? Well, firstly, we have to understand that there are a bunch of positions, sort of, what do you want to say? There are a whole bunch of positions on this map of religions, right? And we're over here with Christianity, and there's atheists here and Buddhists here, and New Age here and whatever, all the religions. If you're going to communicate with someone who has a different culture and a different religion, you should probably know a little bit about that religion. And this is something that's really pushed against. People are afraid to look at these because they're afraid that they're going to lose their faith. But one of the ways you can do this that's just so amazing is through apologetics books. And so these are Christian authors who explore these other religions. Some of them have actually come to Christ because of these arguments, and then they go back and they write books about it. So you want to be informed about the beliefs of the person you're talking to. If you read 5 books on apologetics, you're going to know more on this type of thinking than 95% of people. When I talk to people who say they're atheists, what they mean is, I just really don't like God. They're not actually atheists. They don't actually believe a lot of the things atheists believe. And I'll just ask them, well, do you believe this and this? Like, what? No, I don't believe that. What? That's not atheist. You're not an atheist. Oh, I didn't know. And then, well, what am I? And then we talk about it, and that's how you open it up. But anyway, so here's some great books. I want to encourage you to get into some of these. And these are not, by any means, all of them. And I just like these books. So this is a great one. What is this one? This is The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. This is evidence that Jesus Christ actually lived physically on earth and died and did all the things that we believe he did. And there's a good amount of evidence for this. This will bolster your faith. And when people attack your faith and say, well, yeah, Jesus wasn't real, we know he's a myth. I got a whole book. I got a whole book of actual evidence that says to the contrary. That's one. The Reason for God by Timothy Keller. Love this book. How do we know God exists? Dr. William Lane Craig also does awesome on this. Listen to any of his debates, he teaches on a lot of stuff, but listen to his debates. But there's like 5 arguments. All you need are 5 arguments, and you can say that God exists and be on a very firm foundation. And Dr. William Lane Craig is brilliant. I love his work. I've watched so much of his stuff. He has debated, I think, over 60 atheists. And I think Dr. William Lane Craig has 2 PhDs and speaks like 4 languages or something. The guy's brilliant. He requires that these atheists have at least 1 PhD. And one of them, when debating him, actually said that my colleagues didn't want me to debate you because they're afraid of you, because he's never lost a debate in like 60 or 65 or something like that. And all he uses, I think he's tied 4 and never lost 1. So he's just crushing these arguments. And it's not because he's arguing really strong. It's because he just basically uses the same 5 arguments. And those are the cosmological argument, the teleological argument, I think Anselm's ontological argument, the moral argument, and one more I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, to that end, you 5 arguments, and atheism, they do not have responses to these really solid points of reason, and they're scared to debate him because you can't get past them. So anyway, The Reason for God. How do we know God exists? How do we know Christ is God? That's those 2 books. What's this one? The Case for a Creator. Okay, so very similar. Lee Strobel, The Case for a God that Created the Universe. Probably the teleological argument in that one. It's been a little while since I've read it, which is an argument for design. Look all over the world, you see design and the likelihood that fell into place by pure chance, which is the naturalistic standpoint, very low. Tactics by Greg Kugel, great book. I literally just pulled these off my shelf. There's a whole bunch of them. If you guys want more, let me know in the comments and I'll give them to you. This is awesome for communication. When someone is telling you, oh yeah, it was proven. What do you mean? Well, it was proven. Well, who proved it? Well, I don't know. I don't know who proved it. Well, where did you hear that it was proven? On Twitter, on TikTok? Well, is that really the most reliable source? Like, I really want to see if it's proven. I want to know. And that's the truth, because guys, we want to know the truth. If something's proven, I want to know if it's proven. But if it's not, and they're just saying things because they heard it on TikTok, it's like not reliable. So anyway, this is a great way to defend your faith and learn how to get to the bottom of truth claims. Awesome. Darwin's Black Box. Charles Darwin himself says, if this is the case, it's called irreducible complexity. I won't go into it here, but if this is the case, it's like evolution can't be true because this is a required element of it. And then of course, today we've discovered there are irreducible complexities. It is the case. And so Darwin himself said this can't this can't function. This can't be the case. Evolution doesn't work in the way we think it does. To that end, super awesome book here. What's that? Michael Behe. But anyway, get into Christian apologetics. Learn the worldviews of the people you're talking to. And really, I mean, really think about it. Really get into it and figure out what different people believe, because when you're talking to them, it will help you identify points of weakness that maybe they haven't considered. And you can use the strategy we're going to talk about in another video, and that is called creating cognitive dissonance. And that is another advanced evangelistic strategy. I'm going to teach you guys. It takes a lot of practice, and it takes just, consistent reading and learning other worldviews and thinking logically. And I don't mean like, oh, I think logically. I mean like actual logic, actual analytical arguments, and seeing where their stuff doesn't fall together. And then you can just be like, well, help me understand. And then you can give them a question that is not answerable according to their own worldview. And that really opens them up to questioning some things and considering new information. So we'll talk about cognitive dissonance in another video. This one is about just considering new information, learning about new worldviews, and doing that maybe through Christian apologetics. Anyway, love you guys. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe. Let me know if you've got any more questions, any videos you'd like to see, and we'll talk to you soon.